If you guys have inquisitive fight minds like myself, you probably wonder what additional tactics you can use to win fights outside of strictly using the gifts which you have, the striking skills, the defensive skills. I've often wondered in the past about crazy eyes. If you give somebody really crazy eyes, either at the weigh-in or before the fight, can it throw them off enough to get a psychological edge, which will allow you to win? We're going to talk about that today with two very important stories that are absolutely true about crazy eyes. You guys who've been on the channel before, you know I love giving you story time. Most people get a laugh out of them. Today we're gonna have two good ones for you. One extra funny one, just more of a story. But still, either way, it's perfect for what we're talking about today. When we see some fighters, they just have these eyes which look like, ooh, somebody like Tony Ferguson. Sometimes in the fights, people will catch a clip of him or a picture and you're like, wow, those are some darn crazy eyes. Does this have an effect on the person on the opposite side of the ring? I would say in general, if you were early to fighting, yes, it can absolutely play a factor because your opponent does not have enough experience to go, that does not matter. That's what happens when you start getting more experience. The small things outside of what actually happens in the fight and the guy's skill level being above yours, they don't really matter. But when you're earlier on, this can absolutely work. Now, we're gonna get into some other elements of crazy eyes, but first I wanna start with a story when I fought Mosab Amrani. This is the sort of serious true story, not so funny. The funny true story is gonna come up after. So when Mosab and I got into the ring, we walked across, they called us to the front or the center of the ring to give the final instructions, and we were doing the stare down. I heard after from one of the glory officials that Mosab relayed to him that he felt like he'd already lost in that moment. He said there was something in my eyes and he just mentally broke and he went, I can't win this fight tonight. And that's very interesting to me. I've never felt something like that, but it goes to show you that even somebody like Mosab Amrani, who was the #1 glory fighter in the world, has defeated guys like Liam Harrison. He can still be broken with eyes. I don't do crazy eyes in the sense that I try to widen them or anything. I come right up to my opponent and I look 2 eyes into one of theirs and I look through. And I'm not really looking directly into their eye, I'm just looking through them. Blank, vacant kind of stare. It's actually something my dad told me to try and I liked it. So that's my crazy eyes, I suppose. Just this blank, vacant stare, looking right through. And something about it in that moment, on that night, threw him off enough that he already, before we fought, felt like he was not going to win. My second story is about my jiu-jitsu coach. So he was telling me, he's a good storyteller, better than I am, but he was telling me that he was at one of these tournaments and something about he'd already competed. He was going up against a guy who was actually looking pretty good because you do these multiple person tournaments where you fight, you take a break, you fight, you take a break. He was at a big event. I can't remember the jiu-jitsu, all the different ones, but it was like a big internationally recognized one. And he said, oh, this guy's really good and I want to do something to throw him off. So he said before they actually got in the ring, they knew they were fighting each other. He just watch this guy as he rolled. He was in another a match. He just watched him. He just paced back and forth, just breathing. And he just did this with these crazy eyes. And he said it worked. It threw the guy off. The guy was actually scared, came in, fought entirely different than he had when he just saw him previously. And some people can be broken. So do I think that crazy eyes are going to win fights at all high levels? No, absolutely not. You could come in and do the craziest stuff to a high level opponent and they will remain focused. They will not be phased. But many other people out there who are early on in their career, I do think that if this is a tactic that you're willing to try out and you don't feel too ridiculous or too stupid, which if I was going to do that, the walking back and forth, I probably would. But if you have it in you to test it out, and you can get your eyes just a little bigger and a little wider, you can get serious, and I think there's a chance that it could work. Am I advising everybody out there to try it? No, absolutely not. But keep in mind that this could be flipped, right? We're talking about you can use this against people, but what if somebody uses this against you? Is this something that you need to let get in your head? I don't think so, because in my experience, and something that I was told years ago, the look of the fighter does not matter. Somebody mentioned to me, I think this was probably my dad again, he said, are you going to be scared of the fighter who comes in who's big and scary looking, has a big scar across their face, has a broken nose, who just looks like a veteran? Are you scared of that guy, that opponent? Or are you scared of the one who maybe looks more like me, where people are like, that guy's a fighter? I don't think so. So you have one dude who's done 45 fights who looks like, oh my gosh, he's just beat up, banged up. And you have another guy like myself who's had 45 plus fights who probably doesn't really look like a fighter. That's at least the information that gets relayed to me all the time. Which one are you more scared of? Probably this guy, but really you should be more scared of this guy. Same idea. When somebody gives you these crazy eyes, they do something wild with them, can it hurt you? No. Does it relay how good their fight skill set is? No. Does it show that maybe they need those crazy eyes to overcome or to compensate for a lack of skill level? I would say very often yes. Not all the time, but very often when somebody gives you those crazy eyes, they're actually scared inside and they're trying to psych you out because of that. So it's this balance where if you want to try it, go for it. But you need to still make sure that you recognize that, oh, okay, you know, this might not work and I look a little ridiculous and this guy might not believe anything. But if somebody else tries it on you, just let it be. It's not going to affect you. It's not like they have a crazy, amazing cross. You didn't see them fire off the best cross in the world and go, oh, okay, that's scary. You just saw some eyes. So I just thought this was an interesting conversation to have because yes, you can use it. Yes, if it ever gets used against you, hopefully you can wrap your head around it. And do I think it is a viable thing which can work on some people? Yes, absolutely. I believe many people can be broken by just those eyes on you and doing something a little odd with them. So we're gonna call it there. I just wanted to have a bit more of a fun episode today. I like giving you guys stories at the same time and just relaying things that have happened in my career which you might not be aware of. So thanks for joining me today, guys. As always, train hard and I will see you back here soon for another episode.